Over the next 2 episodes, I'm going to show you 50 different ways that you can use mannequins with their new changes to really enhance your builds. A funeral, a UFO, a village raid, a mine, a construction zone, this deadly pixie, and more lie up ahead, so let's jump straight into it. Greetings friends, Khaios here. Mannequins were always a great way to add a decorative flair to your builds, but in 1.4.5 they gained the ability to hold weapons, tools, and use mounts, strike poses, and even transform in some cases. I've talked about how much I like the change, but moments ago I was working on what was going to be today's video, and I was decorating with mannequins when I discovered just how amazing these changes are. I paused production on that video and started immediately on this one because I really want to talk about how much we can get out of these new mannequin changes before I have a video using them. So today I'll be going over 25 different ways that we can use mannequins by setting up 5 different examples of how we could potentially use them to take our builds to the next level. Then tomorrow I'll release the second half of this video because I actually did 50 mannequins in 10 different scenes. I just didn't want an extremely long video. I'm very excited for this, and I hope you all are too. But before we dive into that, don't forget that I'm still working with 86th to offer you all Terraria merch at a discount. Until March 9th, if you place an order of Terraria merch using my link in the description and pinned comment, and if you check out with code Khaios10, you'll get 10% off of your order, and if your order contains $35 or more of Terraria merch, you'll get a Vortex helmet keychain added to your package for free. Every purchase goes towards helping support the channel, and it is greatly appreciated. But if merch isn't your cup of tea, you could still support the channel by leaving a like and a comment, telling me what you all think of the upcoming mannequin designs I'll be showing you today, and don't forget to subscribe so you are more likely to catch my future content. Now, let's talk about these amazing storage devices. I'm going to be doing these in batches of 5 mannequins by making 10 different small scenes with set themes for the mannequins, the first group of 5 being showcased today. I'll be using mannequins to not only show off different decorative armor sets that you can use for cinematic builds, but also unique ways of using them for different decorations that only mannequins can pull off. I figured you all would like to see how the scenes were built, so instead of doing all 50 mannequins today and not showing the build time lapses, I decided to split this up, and I'll quickly go over how each of these scenes are built. The first scene is going to be a graveyard burial. The dug hole was lined with brown painted clay block, which will also be used to cap off the 2 other burial mounds. Crumbling dirt wall will fill in that burial pit, while wrought iron fence will decorate the background. 2 lampposts are made from shadewood fence and ashwood platform painted brown with carriage lanterns hanging from them. I'll also place a couple of gravestones on the scene. Obviously 2 gravestones do not make a graveyard biome, which I will make it later on, but I wanted to keep these scenes small and I didn't want all 8 tombstones in the shot, so it's just 2 for now. Next, I'll place a dirt mound with the rubble maker and adjust the grass with clay. The reason I use clay is so that grass doesn't grow over these areas when time resumes. Now onto the mannequins. For all of these scenes, I'll just put them down during the time lapse, but I won't decorate them until after the scene is built, so we could see how these mannequins actually elevate the build. I dug a hole underground for one mannequin because I have an idea for it. Then I filled that hole in with crumbling dirt wall and then used living leaf walls in the backgrounds as bushes. Then I had an idea, so I partially filled the burial pit and moved one of the mannequins into it. I also want this area to be raining, but I don't want it to actually rain. I had a fun idea that I'm going to test out, and you all can tell me what you think about it. I'll place 15 rows of blocks above the scene, out of sight, that stretch the entire length of it, with my pressurator turned on so actuators are being placed. Then when all of the blocks are in, I'll line each of them with magic water droppers. These will create a lot of water drops. But here's the interesting thing. When a dropper is placed, it won't break if we actuate the block that it's attached to. So I start actuating the wood while I place the water droppers on it, and when that's done I can echo code it to hide it away. I wouldn't recommend this for most builds because it looks pretty cursed when the water drops form, but if they're off screen, well, let's see. Here's the rain. I like the way that it looks, but it's not as heavy or consistent as I would like it to be, and it might be worth experimenting with in the future, possibly with T-Edit. But I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, there isn't a graveyard biome here. I'll set one up, but I'll do the mannequins first. For this first one, I want a grieving woman, so I'll equip her with a tragic umbrella due to the rain, a funeral hat, and a Victorian goth dress. The second mannequin is going to be reading the funeral rites. I'll equip it with funeral pants, a funeral coat, and a book of skulls. The book is a magic weapon, and it goes in the weapon slot of the mannequin. Then I can take my hammer to it until I get the book into the position I want. For the grave mannequin, I'm using a skull, timeless traveler's cloak, and a coffin minecart in combination to make an open coffin with a skeleton poking out. The fourth mannequin is next to this dirt pile, so I figure it might as well be a gravedigger. I'll equip it with the gravedigger's coat, hat, and shovel, then hammer it until it's swinging the shovel. Lastly, we have the mannequin underground. I don't actually want the mannequin to be seen, so I'm going to be hiding it by shadow painting the walls in the background. Then I'll be placing shadow dye, a zombie arm, a diving helmet, necro breastplate, necro greaves, and a pogo stick on it. The diving helmet and necro armor are just so that every inch of the mannequin's body is covered. I'll swing my hammer so that it's holding the zombie arm straight up as I want it poking out of the ground. It's resting a little low into the ground, but that's what the pogo stick is for. This mount will raise the mannequin slightly. Now I could shadow dye everything that the mannequin is wearing, leaving only the arm visible. I'll echo cut the base of it to hide it away. I could do this for all of the mannequins, but then they'd be hovering in the air. I think it'd be pretty helpful if a mannequin could lower its position when the base was echo coated, if that's even possible. But it's not, so we'll leave most of the stands in. Now let's make this a graveyard. I'll be placing 6 gravestones off screen just to the left. I don't want a graveyard visible in the next scene, so this will ensure that we get one here, but nowhere else. And here is the final graveyard. As you can see, the mannequins take what would be just a spooky area and really bring it to life. Or should I say, undeath? This is going to be a Martian landing pad for a UFO, and I want it to be built on a moon rock, so I'm going to be using stone block, boulder block, and gray painted bubblegum block. Just ignore the fact that I accidentally grabbed silly pink balloon for a second there. Once all 3 blocks are blended together, I'll start on the landing pad with palladium column painted gray. In fact, just assume everything is painted gray unless I say otherwise. Adamantite beam will run between the columns as a decorative support, then a row of spike blocks over the top. Copper plating will go on top of that, then meteorite platforms will rest beneath the spike block, as I really like the little lights that it creates. A row of purple rain wallpaper will go behind the copper plating, giving us a small wall over the top, and another row of it will go between the columns. Now onto the UFO, which is built out of tin plating and copper plating. More adamantite beam runs through the center. Copper plating wall will fill in the rest of the UFO. I wanted to use walls instead of blocks for a reason that I'll go into when we talk about the mannequins. Over the top, I will use slime block with cyan paint, then running through the center of the ship, I'll place 9 dots of silly green balloon painted cyan and illuminant coated to make them shine. These will act as lights on the flying saucer, but obviously they won't produce light, so I'll place in some sapphire gemspark, which I'll echo coat in a moment. But first, I'm going to place down our mannequins. This time, I'm going to be putting down 6. However, there will still only be 5 designs as usual. 2 of these will be identical. The identical ones will be dug into the bottom side of the UFO, so I'll get rid of some of the blocks and I'll place them partially inside of the spacecraft on platforms, which I'll then echo coat away. Now, I want these lights to turn on and off in a pattern, so above the build, off screen, I'll place a small box. On one end will be 2 dart traps with some space between them, the right of which will be actuated so that the dart from the left can travel through it. 3 bubbles filled with honey will rest between them. Then I'll place 9 teal pressure pads throughout the box, evenly spaced. I'll wire the darts up to a timer. When they fire, the right one will turn the lights on from left to right, and the second dart will turn them off, a bit delayed due to the honey. These will turn the gem spark on and off, but to get the silly balloon to appear to turn off, I will actuate them. With the gem spark echo coated, now we have functioning lights. One last detail that I want to add is a cloud of smoke beneath the UFO, which I'll do with an echo coated fog machine. Now let's get these mannequins decorated. The first one will have a full set of the Vanity Cyborg armor and a multicolor wrench. I'll hammer it until the wrench is touching the UFO as if the cyborg is making repairs. Next will be a robot using a destroyer's mask, D-Town's breastplate and leggings, and a proximity mine launcher, which I'll hammer to point down into the cockpit. You can decide if it's repairing or attacking. For this floating mannequin, I'll give it a quad racer drone, full Martian uniform, Lazarus barrier platform, and a cyan dye. The drone's remote will be held even when the mannequin is not swinging its weapon, so I'll put the mannequin into a jump animation for the cyan dyed platform, and I'll echo coat the base. The fourth mannequin will be wearing a full Martian costume set with a brain scrambler mount so that we end up with an alien riding a scuttler mount. For the two identical mannequins stuck inside of the UFO, I'll give them both enchanted pixie dust, reflective metal dye, and laser machine guns. The pixie dust will turn this mannequin into a pixie, then I will echo coat the base of it. When we equip it with the machine gun and hammer it into position, you'll see the massive gun overlaps with the pixie. Now when we dye the mount, it will basically blend in with the gun, which I think looks pretty good. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And here we are, a landed UFO with an alien and cyborg repair crew, and possibly an attacker. It's time for a small village raid scene. In the center will be a small peasant's house. So after building the landscape with some dirt, stone, and grass, I'll use brown painted spooky wood for the floor and the side walls of the house. I'll leave a gap on the right side for a window, then put down some brown painted living leaf along the top for the roof. As for the walls, white painted mudstone fills the foundation, then pine tree wall fills in the area near the roof, painted brown, which is the paint I'll use for the rest of the walls in the house. Ashwood and large bamboo make support beams, spooky wood blend together with normal wood to make a rough wall. Ebon wood fence makes a background window, and shadewood lines the door and side window. Outside of the house, I place a pile of hay and hay wall. After placing a barrel and crate, I jump onto the roof and start tearing out two segments of it. I'll paint the background walls and blocks around those areas black, then lay down some living fire block, as I want the hut to currently be burning from the raid. Where there is a burning hut, there must be smoke, so I'll place two chimneys on platforms in the house. Now I'll decorate the scene with a chest, bed, the mannequins, and a Christmas tree, then I'll echo coat the chimneys and their platforms. Living leaf walls will round up the time-lapse by making small bushes throughout the scene. Let's add just a few more decorative pieces before getting to the mannequins. A carpentry rack and blacksmith rack will fit nicely here. Then I'll turn on the chimneys to get some smoke. I'm also thinking of using small bits of rubble, like arrows and broken tools, that I feel like will look good throughout the area, which can be placed by using wood in the rubble maker. I also want to have a pie cooling in the window with a plate and a pie on top of it. I couldn't remember which of the two pies was a slice and which was the full one. Turns out that apple pie is just a slice, while pumpkin pie is the full deal. Now let's take care of the mannequins. First, the one on the hay pile. I'm thinking this could actually serve two purposes. This can give us a rat that's here to steal the pie, but it could also give us a sickle. When I hammer the mannequin, even though the rat can't hold a sickle, it's still going to appear. I can move it so that it looks like it's stuck in the hay. Just ignore the fact that I accidentally hammered the rat again while breaking a wall and removed the sickle. I didn't notice it at the time, but I'll get it back in for the final look. The next mannequin is going to be the homeowner, equipped with a scarecrow hat, buccaneer's tunic, and clothier pants. Then I'll hammer it to jump in fear, Stardew Valley style. Since it's midair anyway, I'll echo coat the stand. Let's give him a reason to be scared with a raider holding the breaker blade and wearing food barbarian's armor. And let's put that huge weapon into a mid-swing. Onto the other side, I'll make an archer with a boreal bow, Grox the Great's hood, Valhalla Knight's breastplate, necrogreaves, a magic quiver, and a brown dye over the armor, then hammer it so the bow is pointed at an angle. Next is the leader, who will be holding life drain, a boreal wood helmet, ashwood breastplate and greaves, a blindfold, and I'll use brown dye on the armor and black and brown dye on the blindfold. Now we have a finished pillager raid with fire, smoke, and a lot of ambient mannequins. That's 15 out of the way, so let's jump into the next scene. I am not going to build this sample underground because I want all of these scenes side by side, so this is going to be somewhat of an open cavern that you can just imagine is deep underground. But I'll try to simulate it as best I can, which means using my new favorite block combo, stone and boulder block. I'll work on shaping tall rocks on both sides, as I do want this to feel enclosed even though it's exposed to daylight. And once I'm happy with the general shape, I'll work on texturizing them with boulder block, then shaping with my hammer. A rail of minecart tracks will bridge the gap. To make it feel more like a cave, I'll add areas of rock in the background, using gray painted craggy stone and worn stone walls blended together. Then I'll swap in various gemstone blocks in one of the corners of the cave. The mighty tidy gets busted out to bring in stalactites, then I'll start placing a few of the mannequins so I can determine if I have enough space for them. I'll adjust the land as I go. Then I'll support the minecart with brown painted large bamboo wall, ashwood makes a cross support, and echo wall is placed around them to make the supports more thin. I'll shape the cave a little bit more, add the last two mannequins and a pocket of gold ore. A pool of water and a waterfall will wrap up the environment, but before I finish the time lapse, I decide to lift one of the mannequins into the air so that we could have minecart track running underneath it. Now, I'm thinking a barrel floating in the water will look good, which I'll place on top of echo platforms. Above the gym cave, I'll place some explosives and a TNT barrel with a detonator on the other side. For the mannequins, they're all going to be wearing either prospector gear, mining gear, or a combination of the two. This first one will also be using a minecart. The second mannequin is wearing a full mining set, and I'll hammer it into a jump pose to make it look like it's afraid of being run over and it's clinging onto the ceiling. The third one is wearing a full prospector set with an iron pickaxe hammered so that it looks like it's picking away at the gold ore. The next one has a combination of prospector and miner gear, as well as a ruby. I'll hammer it so that it looks like it's excitedly holding up the ruby for other miners to see. Finally, this mannequin will also have a blend of prospector and mining gear with an adamantite drill which it's holding while it considers setting off the explosives. So here we have a finished mining scene. I wish that we could place mannequins directly onto the minecart tracks or platforms, which would then remove the need for their base, so that we could have things like minecarts actually sitting on the tracks, but this still looks good. Now, let's build the last scene of this video, then the first half of our mannequins will be done. For this construction yard, I'll start off with a foundation of Titan snow block. To the left and right of it, brown painted clay, because I feel like dirt would be appropriate in this instance, and I don't want grass to grow over it. I want two caution barriers indicating where the construction yard is, so I'll use candy cane block with orange paint and white painted palmwood fence below them, with deep yellow painted red lights on top. Two trash cans and a stack of crates will decorate the outside. Moving into the actual building, I want it to feel like it's only halfway constructed. No, this is not how a building under construction would actually look. I'm just going for aesthetics here, not realism. Gray painted adamantite beam will act as structure supports. Red brick will be on the bottom and halfway up on the left side. For the background walls, I'm going with a blend of red brick and gray painted ebonstone brick. Lead fence will be a background support placed here and there. And two large openings will be placed for windows on the first floor without glass. Then I'll continue the adamantite beam supports higher up for an unbuilt third and partially fourth floor. Scaffolding is built outside of the house using brown painted palmwood fence, dynasty platforms, and bamboo fence to act as a ladder, which is done on both sides of the building. More lead fence is added across the upper floor supports. Then I'll decorate inside with some more crates, this time to include an iron one, two chain lanterns, and the final 5 mannequins for today. To wrap up the decorations, let's place a wheelbarrow here using the rubble maker. Then some stacks of bricks made out of red painted hailstone bars. For this case I wish they didn't sparkle, but it still looks good in my opinion. At the top, near this mannequin, an Easter workbench because it looks like a picnic basket. This construction worker will be taking his lunch break, so I'll equip the mannequin with a burger, engineering helmet, Rainbros hoodie, chef pants, and I'll put orange dye on the helmet and a bright silver dye on the hoodie. Then I'll hammer him into the sitting position. Thankfully, food items are carried no matter what pose the mannequin is in, so he can be holding his burger while he sits. Down a floor, this mannequin will get a red wrench, an engineering helm, a steampunk shirt, sailor pants, and yellow dye will go on its helmet. I'll hammer him so it looks like he's tightening a bolt in the supports. another floor down to these two mannequins. The first one is going to be the architect, who gets the grand design, an engineering helmet, a tuxedo shirt, pinstripe pants, and bright silver dye, which will go on all of his clothing, giving him the white hat to signify his rank. The grand design looks like a blueprint, which I'll pose him to be reading. Behind him will be the electrician, who gets a quad racer drone, engineering helmet, master gamer's jacket, sky blue dye for his hard hat, and clothier's pants. The gamer's jacket looks like it's a white shirt with an orange vest, which I feel like fits the vibe perfectly. Finally, the first floor mannequin will be holding glass wall, an engineering helmet, a plumber shirt, pants, and the hard hat will be dyed orange. I'll hammer the mannequin so it looks like it's carrying a pane of glass. And here's the final construction yard. I still can't get over how good those caution barriers came out, and out of the 5 scenes, I think I'm most happy with this one. Let me know what you all think. Let's just give a quick final look at all 25 mannequins that I made today in the 5 different areas. And don't forget that tomorrow I'll be finishing off the 50 mannequins with part 2 of this video. Which scene did you like the most? What do you think I'll put together tomorrow? Before you go, don't forget to check out the Terraria merch linked below. Hit the like button while you're down there and subscribe to help the channel out. A special thanks to my biggest supporters for the month, Kasu, Slathazar Powerup, and Pombo. And be sure to check out my channel artist, MythicalWater, linked in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching. Be back soon with a new video. Happy building!